Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namaste, Haribol, Radhe Radhe. Welcome to the Science of Krishna. We are reading the essence of all the Vedas, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Today we are reading chapter 5, Narada's instructions on Śrīmad Bhāgavatam for Vyasadeva. In the previous episode, we covered chapter 4, and Naradji appeared, and Vyasadeva was feeling dissatisfied. So Naradji appeared, and now Naradji will be giving Vyasadevji all the instructions that how he should compile a literature on the devotional service of the great Lord. He should talk about different pastimes of the great Lord and how Vyasadevji compiled this essence, the cream of all the Vedas, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Granth Mahapurana ki Jai. Chapter 5, Narada's instructions on Śrīmad Bhāgavatam for Vyasadeva. Shruta Uvacha. Shruta Goswami said, thus the sage amongst the gods, Narad, comfortably seated and apparently smiling, addressed the Rishi amongst the Brahmana, Vyasadeva. Narad Uvach. Addressing Vyasadeva, the son of Parashar, Narad inquired, are you satisfied by identifying with the body or the mind as objects of self-realization? Now, this question is not just for Vyasadeva, but for all of us. What are we doing today? We recognize this body, this clothing, and our mind with our true self. But is it? And what is self-realization? Realizing this body, this matter as real me? What exactly is self-realization? So let's ask this question to ourselves. Who am I? Why am I linking myself with things like house, car, all the material possessions that we have, or I am daughter of so and so? No. For self-realization, we have to understand that we are neither this body nor the mind. No doubt your inquiries were full and your studies also well fulfilled, since you have prepared a great and wonderful work, the Mahabharata, which is full of all kinds of Vedic sequences, elaborately explained. You have fully delineated the subject of impersonal Brahma as well as the knowledge derived therefrom. Why should you be despondent in spite of all this, thinking that you are undone, my dear Prabhu? Naradji is asking Vyasadeva all these questions. Sri Vyasadeva said, all you have said about me is perfectly correct. Despite all this, I am not pacified. I therefore question you about the root cause of my dissatisfaction, for you are a man of unlimited knowledge due to your being the offspring of one Brahma who is self-born without mundane father and mother. My lord, everything that is mysterious is known to you because you worship the creator and destroyer of the material world and maintainer of the spiritual world, the original personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to the three modes of material nature. So, a devotee of the great Lord who is perfect is also perfect. And it is written in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam that such a devotee of the Lord in full perfection of devotional service is also perfect by the qualification of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whatever eightfold perfections of mystic power, the Ashtasiddhi, people are running after, a devotee possesses those. Like the sun, your goodness can travel everywhere in the three worlds, and like the air, you can penetrate the internal region of everyone. As such, you are as good as the all-pervasive super soul. Please, therefore, find out the deficiency in me despite my being absorbed in transcendence under disciplinary regulation and vows. Sri Narad said, "You have not actually broadcast the sublime and spotless glories of the personality of Godhead. That philosophy which does not satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord is considered worthless." So we all see that there are so many people talking about stuff, especially when I see on social media, we have so much interest in looking into other people's life, that what's going on in her life, what's going on in his life. And this is the world where we are recording vlogs, and filming our private things that are private. People are filming that just for the sake of few followers, maybe money and some influence. But whatever this is, if we are not doing whatever we are doing, if our actions are not aligned with the satisfaction of the great Lord, if we are not talking about Shri Hari, whatever we are talking is rubbish. This is not just me, but Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, our Shastras speak that. Although, great sage, you have very broadly described the four principles beginning with religious performances, you have not described to such an extent the glories of the Supreme Personality Vasudeva. Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows. Since the all perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode, they do not derive any pleasure there. Crows take pleasure in garbage, and swans, they do not. And I would dedicate one full episode on my Positive Hindi channel just purely on this verse, that how we have to choose. The choice is ours. Do we want to be like a crow or like a swan? Crow feeding on garbage, and swan even separating water from milk and just taking milk. So just like that, we should also filter in whatever we are putting in, especially in this century where people are so conscious about what they are munching on, what they are putting inside their body. We should also have filter that what we are putting inside our mind, what are we feeding our brain. We should not just keep on scrolling on social media and munch on garbage. We have to choose, do we want to be a crow or a swan? So think about it and choose wisely. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc. of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. It is a qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best even from the worst. So let's say there are faults, which I am sure there are so many faults in my speaking, in my reading, in my conveying this message of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. But an intelligent, intellectual human being will pick up the best from the worst, even from my highly imperfect speaking and reading. An intelligent person will pick up the best. This is a trait of an intelligent person. You give him garbage, he'll bring out nectar from it. Knowledge of self-realization, even though free from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of a conception of the infallible God. What then is the use of fruitive activities which are naturally painful from the very beginning and transient, temporary in nature, if they are not utilized by the devotional service of the great Lord? uh, in the further verses, there will be a verse where it's reiterating that we should dedicate everything in the service of the great Lord out of love, not by compulsion. O Vyasadeva, your vision is completely perfect. Your good fame is spotless. You are firm in vow and situated in truthfulness, and thus you can think of the pastimes of the Lord in trance for the liberation of the people in general from all material bondage. Sri Narad Rishi, being the best amongst the Vaishnavas, is compassionate towards such unfortunate victims of worthless literatures, and thus he advises Sri Vyasadeva to compose transcendental literature which is not only attractive but can also actually bring liberation from all kinds of bondage. Now, this is the imperfect reading I was talking about previously, but an intelligent person will pick the best out of my worst reading, because what I am reading is the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the essence of all the Vedas. Whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with different forms and names to agitate the mind as the wind agitates a boat which has no resting place. So there is nothing, absolutely nothing except the great Lord. And the Lord is manifested in different expansions. Lord is like a root of a complete tree. All we have to do, the right proper way to water a tree is by watering the root of the tree, and it will take care of how the water or nutrients are reaching to the shoot, flowers, fruits. So when I always give this example, that we don't have to worry about our relationships in this material world. We have to focus on nourishing our relationship with the great Lord Shri Hari, and rest all other relationships will be satisfied. Try this. You know how in our Hindu culture, we are married to the husband, and the fairas happen with the husband, not with the entire family of the husband. But once we are married, husband's family becomes our family. Just like that, all the connections of the great Lord will be satisfied when we are connected to the great Lord. The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable. Because they are guided under your instructions, they will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibitions. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. Only a very expert personality retired from the activities of material happiness deserves to understand this knowledge of spiritual values, because Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost theological science. Therefore, those who are not so well situated due to material attachment should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness through descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. It's funny how I was talking about this same thing on my Positive Hindi channel, that when a child is born, we start uh, with the bare basic. We start with alphabets and numbers, even though the child, let's say, was a scientist in his previous birth. Still, he has to start again when it comes to material things. But the spiritual bank balance, if he was at step number 100, he'll start from 101. And we see this example with so many devotees like Ajamil. In his youth, he was a devotee of the great Lord, but later in his life, we see that how there was a downfall of his spirituality and he married a prostitute and all that. Not so fun stuff. But ultimately, God saved him and he came back to the great Lord Shri Hari. So, a person who starts on this journey of being in love with Shri Krishna, being a devotee of Shri Krishna, will never be unsuccessful. Persons who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for the purposeful end, which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet Brahmalok down to the lowest planet Patal. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time, just as in course of time we obtain miseries even though we do not desire them. It's funny. We do not desire misery, but we still get misery. Right? So Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is beautifully describing that one should make endeavors not for sensory enjoyment, but to understand Shri Krishna. My dear Vyas, even though a devotee of Lord Krishna sometimes fall down somehow or other, he certainly doesn't undergo material existence like other fruitative workers. Because a person who has once relished the taste of the lotus feet of the Lord can do nothing but remember that ecstasy again and again. The Supreme Lord Personality of Godhead is Himself this cosmos, and still He is aloof from it. God is within and without. From Him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated, in Him it rests, and unto Him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I have only given you a synopsis. And what should be the only business of the human being, of perfect human being? Surrendering fully unto the lotus feet of the great Lord. I'll repeat, what should be the only business of a perfect human being? To surrender fully unto the lotus feet of the great Lord Shri Hari. Your goodness has perfect vision. You yourself can know the super soul personality of Godhead because you are present as the plenary portion of the Lord. Although you are birthless, you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of all people. Please therefore describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna, more vividly. Learned circles have positively concluded that the infallible purpose of the advancement of knowledge, namely austerities, study of the Vedas, sacrifice, chanting of hymns, and charity, culminates in the transcendental descriptions of the Lord, who is defined in choice poetry. O Muni, in my past life, in the last millennium, I was born as the son of a certain maidservant engaged in the service of Brahmanas who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. Although they were impartial by nature, those followers of the Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy. As far as I was concerned, I was self controlled and had no attachment for sports even though I was a boy. In addition, I was not naughty and I did not speak more than required. Once only, by their permission, I took the remnants of their food, and by so doing, all my sins were at once eradicated. Thus, being engaged, I became purified in heart, and at that time, the very nature of the transcendentalist became attractive to me. So, pure devotion is infectious. in a good sense. That just by having remnants of those devoted people, of those devotees, Narad Muni gained devotion, and he found and developed taste in the name of Shri Hari. O Vyasadeva, in that association and by the mercy of those great Vedantists, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Krishna, and thus listening attentively, my taste for hearing of the personality of Godhead increased at every step. Another reason of reciting this line to line of the verses of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is so that I can hear. I was not getting any video in which I could hear all these verses of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam the way I wanted to listen. So I just started recording and started this new series of the Science of Krishna, so that if there is somebody else like me who wants to hear Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and might not have time to, can play the audio, the video, and while they are busy doing something else, they can have it so that they are remembering Shri Krishna, they are relishing the pastimes of Shri Krishna. Oh, great sage, as soon as I got a taste for the personality of Godhead, my attention to hear of the Lord was unflinching, and as my taste developed, I could realize that it was only in my ignorance that I had accepted gross and subtle coverings, for both the Lord and I are transcendental. Thus, during 2 seasons, the raining and autumn, I had the opportunity to hear these great-souled sages constantly chant the unadulterated glories of the Lord Hari. As the flow of my devotional service began, the coverings of the modes of passion and ignorance vanished. So this is the power of bhakti. This is the power of devotional service, that it dilutes and eradicates passion, ignorance. I was very much attached to those sages. I was gentle in behavior, and all my sins were eradicated in their service. In my heart, I had strong faith in them. I had subjugated the senses, and I was strictly following them with body and mind. And it's said that how do we get devotional service? 2 ways. Either by the mercy of the great Lord, or by the mercy of great devotees of the great Lord. Hari Bhakton ki jai. All glories to the great devotees of the great Lord. As they were leaving, those Bhakti Vedantas, who are very kind to poor-hearted souls, instructed me in that most confidential subject which is instructed by the personality of Godhead himself. The whole manifested creation is in existence by the will of great Lord. By that confidential knowledge, I could understand clearly the influence of the energy of Lord Shri Krishna, the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything. By knowing that, one can return to him and personally meet him. O Brahmana Vyasadeva, it is decided by the learned that the best remedial measure for removing all troubles and miseries is to dedicate one's activities to the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. Shri Krishna is the ultimate sanctioning authority of the good and bad, and all our actions should be dedicated to Shri Krishna. My reading of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam dedicated to Shri Krishna. Me uploading videos on YouTube and Spotify dedicated to Shri Krishna. My whole existence dedicated to Shri Krishna. With this attitude, with this mode, we all should try that may we dedicate everything, our actions, our mind, body, all the resources that we have, every single thing belongs to Shri Hari and should be used in his service. O good soul, does not a thing applied therapeutically cure a disease which was caused by that very same thing? So what is science? when we are giving vaccination, we are also giving those infectious but in less quantity pathogens inside the body so that we can have antibodies developed, right? Same thing is being used. Let's say we have somebody has some lactose intolerance towards milk. So what do we give? We give same product derived from that milk, which is yogurt. It's good for the gut health. So likewise, it is said, the threefold miseries of material existence cannot be mitigated simply by material activities. Such activities have to be spiritualized. Just as by fire, iron is made red hot, and thereby the action of fire begins. Similarly, the material conception of a thing is at once changed as soon as it is put into the service of the Lord. This is the secret of spiritual success, that put everything in the service of the great Lord. This mind, this body, this clothing in the service of great Lord. All the actions in the service of great Lord, and this is the spiritual success. Thus, when all a man's activities are dedicated to the service of the Lord, those very activities which caused his perpetual bondage become the destroyer of the tree of work. Whatever work is done here in this life for the satisfaction of the mission of the Lord is called Bhakti Yoga, or transcendental loving service to the Lord. And what is called knowledge becomes a concomitant factor. While performing duties according to the order of Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one constantly remembers him, his name, and his qualities. Let us all chant the glories of Vasudeva along with plenary expansions Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Sankarshana. Thus, he is the actual seer who worships in the form of transcendental sound representation the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who has no material form. Because the transcendental form of great Lord is eternal bliss and knowledge. O Brahmana, thus by the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, I was endowed first with the transcendental knowledge of the Lord as inculcated in the confidential parts of the Vedas, and then with the spiritual opulences, and then with his intimate loving service. Please therefore describe the Almighty Lord's activities which you have learned by your vast knowledge of the Vedas, for that will satisfy the hankerings of great learned men and at the same time mitigate the miseries of the masses of common people who are always suffering from material pangs. Indeed, there is no other way to get out of such miseries. This ends the chapter 5, Narada's instructions on Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. In the next episode, we'll be picking up chapter 6, conversation between Narad and Vyasadeva ji. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Granth Mahapurana ki Jai. So let's promise ourselves one thing, that whatever we will do from now on will be for the happiness of Shri Krishna. Vyasadeva was feeling unsatisfied, chapter 4. Narada Muni appeared. Narada Muni gave him instructions. And the crux of those instructions is, O Vyasadeva, please talk about Shri Krishna. So, oh dear souls, let's wake up from the slumber. Let's talk about Shri Krishna. Let's hear about Shri Krishna. Let's always think about Shri Krishna and love Shri Krishna. So using everything in the service of Shri Krishna, even this human body. I hope this brings us closer to Shri Krishna. This brings light to us. I'll see you next Wednesday on YouTube and Spotify. Till then, keep on chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Let me know in the comments that are you ready to embrace this journey of dedicating everything for the happiness of Shri Krishna? If yes, prem se bolo, Radhe Radhe, Namaste, Hari Bol.